you suffer with brain fog, lack of focus, having a hard time making decisions? And do you feel like that's normal? Well, I got something cool for you today, because we are going to talk about how not to experience those things and have, in fact, mental clarity and focus. Hey friend, I'm Melanie Borbo, and on this channel, Your Vitality Today, I focus on helping women to uncover their divine inside so that they can be vibrant on the outside. So today, we're going to hear a success story of someone who purposed in his heart not to defile himself, and then he was given much mental clarity and wisdom because of his decision. Secret. And now many times people think that we are powerless to what actually goes on inside our head. We think that, oh, I'm just having a bad day, I can't stay focused, I can't, it's hard for me to make decisions. But the truth is that we don't have to live like that. We do not have to live like that. And the secret is knowing, in fact, that we do have power and that we can make choices. And that's a theme. Like, that's a theme for me in my videos, is that I want you to know that you have power. You don't have to stay where you are just because that's where you are. Do you get it? I hope, if that makes sense, then let me know. Like it, or drop me a comment saying that does or doesn't make sense. Okay, so today we are going to dive into a story about a man named Daniel, who had decided, he had made a conscious decision. He had purposed in his heart not to defile himself. This is really important. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. So Daniel was a Jew, and many Jews were taken captive by King Nebuchadnezzar. And so Daniel and three of his friends actually were chosen as some of the captives. They were chosen to serve inside the king's palace rather than just be whatever everyone else was doing. They were brought into the palace and were going to be trained on how to serve, how to, be somebody of importance for the king. So these young men were brought in. Now, these young men were, I think from what I know, is that they lived a fairly simple life before they were taken captive, right? Like they didn't have all the rich delicacies that a king would have. But when these captives came into Babylon, they were instructed by the king's, the king's servants, so to speak, that these young men were to have the best of all the rich foods and the wine and whatever they wanted, because he wanted all of these young men that he had chosen to be his servants or his workers. He wanted them to be their best, right? And because these young men were chosen because they already had no blemish, they were knowledgeable, they were, they had lots of good characteristics and qualities going for them. And so the king thought that he should give them all this rich food and this wine to drink, and that was going to make them be their best. However, Daniel and his three friends, they knew that that's not what was going to happen. Now, Daniel was a big believer in God. He spent a lot of time praying, a lot of time reading God's word, a lot of time, listening for God's guidance. And he knew that these foods that were going to be put in front of him, all these rich things and desserts and all these fancy things that he'd never had before, and the wine, all of these things were going to make him be less likely to make the right kind of decisions. They were going to kind of get in the way of him making good judgments on things to come. And so the Bible calls it, he had purposed in his heart. And to me, that is the most amazing thing, is to purpose in your heart. That means you have made a decision inside your heart that no way, right? I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. And so he had made that decision along with his three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But anyway, okay, so because of who these young men were, they had good characters, right? And they the Bible says they found favor with the servants of the king. And so they went to this one certain servant, and they said to him, we want to eat pulses and basically drink water. So pulses is your vegetables, your legumes, your, the plants. We don't want this other stuff. And the servant of the king was like, oh, if you don't take this, then I'm going to be in big trouble. But they convinced him to let them have this diet and this way of living for 10 days. And then to test them, to see what was the difference. How did they measure up compared to all the other ones that were eating and drinking and being merry and doing all this stuff? So this servant, gave them favor. And he said, okay, 10 days. 10 days. But man, oh man, if you look terrible, I'm going to be in big trouble. But Daniel knew he wasn't going to look terrible. They knew that they were going to be healthy. So this is exactly what they did. They didn't partake in the fancy meals or the wine drinking or all of that stuff. They just had simple meals, right? Simple meals with your plants and your water. And I know that doesn't sound good to you right now, but there are multiple ways you can eat plants that are amazing. But anyway, guess what happened after 10 days? After 10 days, they came back or met up with the servant, and the king actually saw them, and the king said, wow, what is the deal with these young men? Like, they are filled with wisdom. They have so much, I don't think he used the word mental clarity, but you know what I mean? They have so much going for them. What is going on? So that was just a quick little snippet of that story. And again, if you want to read the rest of the story, just go into the book of Daniel. It's such a good story. Such a good story. There's so many good stories in the book of Daniel. But this one in particular, I wanted you to see the power of making good choices with your food can absolutely change the way your brain functions. It really, truly can. There have been studies done and all kinds of experiences of people that have eaten a poor diet compared to people that eat a good diet. There was one story, now I'm not totally sure about this, but there was one story of a prison where somebody had come in and they said, let's give the prisoners plant-based food, plant-based healthy food, and see what happens. Now, I don't remember how long it took or how long they did the study or whatever, but what eventually happened is that the ones that were eating the plant-based diet, the ones that were eating the healthy food, compared to the ones who were eating whatever other garbage is served, they had less riots, they had less anger, they were more cooperative, right? Like many, many things happened to those prisoners that ate the healthy food. And the ones that didn't eat the healthy food still continue to do riots and get into trouble and beat each other up and do all these kinds of crazy things, right? So the power of food is amazing for our mental health, for our emotional health, for our behaviors. The power of healthy food. I can't stress enough. So what does that look like? That looks like, lots of plants and vegetables. Like half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables at every meal. A half of a big plate. A quarter of your plate should be complex carbs, and a quarter of your plate should be protein. And again, I get mine from, it should be healthy protein. So plant-based protein is fantastic, right? So where do you get this stuff from? So your complex carbs can be your grains, your seeds, your nuts, like all that kind of stuff. Your proteins can come from seeds and nuts as well, beans, legumes, huge source of protein, as well as you can get even in your spinaches and your broccolis and stuff. I mean, there's not untold amount of antioxidants and things inside of your plants and fruits and vegetables. But there's also protein in things like spinach, and I wish I would have had a list in front of me. But I mean, the power is in the plate. The power is in the plate. If we want to impact all areas of our body, we have to start putting good stuff in our body, right? So cut out refined sugar. It's terrible for you, terrible for you. Cut out caffeine and alcohol. Neither one of these things are going to help you with mental clarity and be focused. Even though they say caffeine does, it doesn't really. It just puts you into a stress-induced kind of hyperactive state, but it doesn't actually cause you to have mental clarity for long periods of time. And so the more of the powerful plate that you can have, the less issues you're going to have with your thinking, with your depression, your mental health, your mental clarity, your focus, your concentration. It is amazing, amazing, amazing how much, the power that food has actually on us. So that's basically what I wanted to leave with you today, was to start thinking about your food and what's on your plate. I'm not going to tell you, what diet to eat, like go eat this diet or that diet. I'm just going to say eat lots of plants. 80% of your food intake should be from plants. And then, and cut down on the sugar or cut out the sugar. Drink lots of water, and I promise you, you will have mental clarity like you've never seen before. So that's all I've got for you today. But hey, there's more. I've got some more good stuff for you in the description. And remember, if you like this video, go ahead and click the little like button. I'd love to know that this is working for you. And drop me a comment if you've got anything to say, because I'd love to hear what you actually want from me, what you need from me. And like I say, in the description, I have some other cool and fun things for you there, so as well, to help you, progress faster if that's what you want to do. So for now, take care, God bless, and I'll talk to you again very soon.